Hello and welcome to this week's Glasstire Top 5. It is the week of January 7th, 2021. I am Brandon Zech.
I'm Christina Rees.
And I'm Christopher Blay.
And this actually isn't a top 5, it's a spring preview. So, a lot of you who have watched this kind of know how it goes. We look at museums, institutions, places that have their kind of advanced calendars readily on their website, readily available. We've also received a lot of press releases in our inboxes about what's happening this spring. Also, this is the first spring preview of the coronavirus pandemic, so things have changed a little bit. There are a lot of institutions that have kind of held their shows over from the fall, or have pushed shows back, or are doing shows this spring, which we may have previewed on last year's spring preview. So we'll mention that as we go through, but with all of that in mind, and there will be a ton of great gallery shows that we'll continue to highlight throughout the year. But with that in mind, we're going to start with number 6.
So yeah, there are 6 on our list this week, and number 6, the reason this is number 6 is because we've actually had this on a preview before, but because of the pandemic, it kept getting, kicked down the calendar until it could finally open. It is Deborah Roberts at Contemporary Austin. And this is her solo show. She's an Austin-based artist. This is long awaited. We've all been waiting for it. We're big fans of her work. Now, one of the things that they were able to do and launch at the end of the summer, the beginning of the fall, was a big mural on the outside of the Contemporary Austin's building, the Jones Center downtown. That's called Little Man, Little Man. That's up now. It has been up and it will be up indefinitely. I don't think that they're planning on taking that down anytime soon. The solo exhibition inside the building is called I'm. Deborah, who is in Austin, as I said, she does this beautiful collage work. It's super clean. It's real super legible and real graphic. She also does text-based work, and she does paintings. All new work in this show, some of all of those that I just mentioned. She engages with American history, Black culture, popular culture, Black female subjects and the way they're depicted in the media. Also, in this case, children. Black children being the most vulnerable people in our population. The Little Man mural is of a little boy in various kinds of stances and positions. It opens January 23rd. It's going to run through August 15th. Hopefully, in the long run, most of us will get a chance to see this.
Number 5 this week is a show coming up at the Moody Center at Rice University. The show's called Artists and the Rothko Chapel, 50 Years of Inspiration. It opens in January. It goes through May. So this is actually a restaging of a show that happened at Rice University almost 50 years ago. I think it's about 45, 46 years ago. But it's a show of works by Bryce Martin and David Navarros. So that show happened in 1975, and it's kind of a recreation of that, but there's a complementary section to the show that's works by Sam Gilliam, Sheila Hicks, Byron Kim, and Shariza Husheri. The work is, meant to celebrate the anniversary of the Rothko Chapel and the recently reopening of the Rothko Chapel, but it's also, I think a lot of this work, is, it's political. It has to do a little bit with the body, but I mean, also it's just nice to be able to see works by Sam Gilliam, Sheila Hicks, Byron Kim, by all of these people in Houston, and their pieces, I think, in these shows that went on to become part of the Menil collection. I don't think I'm mistaken about that. If I am, call me on it. But I'm really excited for the show. It's a little bit more of a traditional show, and especially that it's a recreation of a show from the 70s. But at the same time, we got a lot of other stuff going on, so it's nice to see this one in the roster.
Number 4 on our list is Becky Meek, Stony, The Road We Trod, at the Nasher Center. It's going to be part of Nasher Public. That's the initiative that Nasher Sculpture Center started approximately 3 months ago, where they've transformed their Nasher shop into a gallery space for the next few months. And show works of emerging and established artists like Becky Meek. Title of the show comes from the Black national anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. And it has a lot of the elements that would be familiar to audiences that are familiar with her work. She mines a lot of the Yoruba culture of Western Africa and Ghana, and has a lot of symbolism and elements. She uses the color blue, which is kind of a color of protection in African art, and she uses roosters that symbolize ancestors to create kind of a shrine, as she describes it, to sort of honoring the idea that Black Lives Matter, and creating a space for that to be acknowledged, celebrated, and literally enshrined. And it's going to be at the Nasher from January 7th through February 14th.
Number 3 on our list is at Art Pace in San Antonio. This is called After Carol Lee, Tender and Fierce. It is named after Carol Lee Schneemann. The curator of this show was Annette Carlozzi, who was a longtime curator, beloved curator of the Blanton, who retired and has been active on the art scene since then. What she's done, so the beloved Carol Lee Schneemann, who died last March, right before the shutdown, actually, so some of that news kind of got buried. Fantastic multimedia artist, and probably best known for her some of her more controversial performances in the 60s and 70s, but she stayed really active up until her death. She did a lot of great multimedia stuff. She was a resident at Art Pace in 1999 and did a show there about her cat, about her dead cat. This was not the only work that she did about her various cats. So what Annette has done is she's asked a lot of women artists, 14 women artists, although 2 of them work in pairs, to do a kind of tribute to not only the show that Carol Lee Schneemann did in 1999 at Art Pace, but also just a tribute to the artist herself. Most of these are Texas artists: Kristen Cochran, Liz LaFleur. We know these people: Lovey Olivia, Megan Solis, Julia Claire Wallace. It's going to be a very strong show. Again, it actually opens today if you're watching this on Thursday, and it runs through April 25th. It's in the Hudson Showroom.
Number 2 this week is a show coming up this spring at the Blaffer Art Museum in Houston. It's called Carriers, The Body as a Site of Danger and Desire. It opens at the end of January. It's on view through the beginning of March. This show kind of continues the whole theme of this top 5, or at least of most of the spring preview picks, which are kind of turning back to local artists and institutions, kind of bringing local artists into their walls and into their galleries. This is something that we've kind of seen and been predicting, and a lot of institutions have gotten a lot better about, frankly, in the last 5-6 years. But I think the pandemic and everything has really caused that turn. So this show is, I believe, 15 local to Houston artists. It's exploring all of the politics of body and what a person's body does, says, how they exist in the world, and all of the complexities around that. It's people you recognize, people like Frances Armendariz, Violette Blue, Michael Ray Charles, Ryan Hawk, Robert Hodge, Matt Milano, Lovey Olivia again, Dario Robleto, Gerardo Rosales, Vincent Valdez, people who are kind of staples of the Houston community by this point, and whose work we love to see. This is going to be a great show in the Blaffer, and I'm definitely excited for it.
Okay, the number 1 show is actually a public art piece. It's a public art project on Pioneer Tower in Fort Worth. Pioneer Tower was built in the 30s, I'd say 1936. The tower that rises above the Will Rogers Coliseum, where the stock show and rodeo happens in Fort Worth. The Fort Worth Public Art Commission has hired Italian artist Quayola and California artist Rafiq Anadol to create projections on this tower. And this happens the last weekend of February in the evenings, and they will make these projections based on Rafiq Anadol is mining Fort Worth history to sort of unleash machine learning into that data set to create images that will then be projected, while Quayola is recording some images of trees, landscape paintings, and the motion of horses, which he states are iconic to Fort Worth, and digitizing these images that will sort of like disintegrate and re-emerge into fractal, mathematical, geometric shapes that are then projected onto the sides of Pioneer Tower. Both of these artists have worked on large public projections before, and it promises to be something that recontextualizes the history of Fort Worth.
Okay, so that is our spring preview. We're all keeping our fingers crossed that things will be kind of slowly returning back to, I don't know if it'll be normal, the new normal, but stay safe and Happy New Year. And if we can say that, and be safe. And if you can, go see some art. If you don't want to go see some art, then still see some art.
Stay safe. See some art.